right, today we are going to talk about healthy breakfast on the go because I don't know about you, but I like nothing more than starting the day feeling nutritiously sound, satiated, and like I can truly take on the world. And the best way to do that and ensure your success is to feed your body well during fast breakfast, right? Most of us have been greenwashed or marketed to that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And while that's true, Kellogg's cereal is the one that coined that phrase. And I can tell you anything is better for you almost than Kellogg's cereal. So today we're going to talk about some of those easy breakfasts, some that you can make ahead and freeze and grab and take with you, or get out of the freezer the night before or pop out whenever you're ready. Some of it is going to be stuff that you can just make right then and there, and certainly things that you can get your children involved in, because for me, that's one of my passions. I grew up with a mom who fed me and her family, my family, very well. I carried that tradition on with my children, and I'm so happy to say that my adult children now are fit and fantastic and foodies, and they eat extremely well. And I'm so grateful for that because consequently, their health is really good as well. All right, so we're going to talk about some of the key components. First of all, it's so important. What I'm going to cover today, I'm going to cover my Paleo Muffins, which are my almond flour protein-packed muffins. These are great for paleo or keto because they are extremely low glycemic, and I've made some of them ahead of time. I'm going to share 2 healthy cereal alternatives with you that, again, are packed with healthy fats, proteins, and not all the garbage that's in traditional granola cereal. And along the lines of the Paleo Muffins, as opposed to like a bagel or that sugary sweet muffin that you might pick up at Starbucks, my goal is to get you something that's really going to feed your body extremely well, and most specifically, feed your brain. Speaking of kids, it's so important that we get them started off right during the day, especially if we send them off to school, so that they don't get that sugar high, sugar low, and so much of childhood disruptive behavior, ADHD, ADD, a lot of that is truly linked to dietary situations. Now, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist. You can go to citations.lowertoxiclife.com and learn more about the research and studies that I've done on all that. And while you're at it, go to recipes.lowertoxiclife.com, where you will find these recipes and more. A few of them aren't on the blog yet, but possibly by the time you watch this on the replay, they will be there, because that is my goal. My Paleo Muffins are definitely there, along with one of my cereal combinations. And then I'm going to do some breakfast egg tacos for you. I'm going to do some mini quiche on the go. I'm going to do my cold brew cherry smoothie. And I'm trying to think what else. That's probably it, or we'll see as we go along. All right. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make up some chocolate protein powder. Yes, I'm making my own. If you've ever pre-purchased protein powder, there's some good ones out there. This is a collagen peptide protein powder by Orgain. It's fairly good, but when you look at it, I mean, this one is good. The ingredients is collagen peptides. It has protein in it as well. But so many of the protein powders that we get today are packed with gross things. I'm just going to say, this protein powder that I'm going to make right here is raw pumpkin seeds, chia seeds, ground flax, almond flour, and cacao powder that I've put in there. And then you can put cinnamon in there as well. So I've mixed all this together. And what you're going to do, I'm going to pull it right over here, because you're going to get to see this as we're doing it. And I'm just going to pop it into my coffee grinder. Okay, so a little bit at a time. Okay, you can see here, hopefully you can see this. That's all it is. All of this is organic almond flour, organic pumpkin seeds, flax, all of it. So I'm just going to scoop in 2 big tablespoons. We just grind it in a coffee grinder, and boom, there is your protein powder that we can use for all different things. So we're going to set that aside. And I will make sure that that recipe is on my blog in short order, because it is fantastic. And I was so happy when I found my own homemade protein powder that I could make and not rely on these store-bought brands with preservatives and seed oils and natural flavorings. and all of that. So that's the first thing we're starting with. All right, the second thing I already mentioned, my Paleo Muffins. I'm just gonna scoot you over here. These are all the ingredients for the Paleo Muffins. So 2 large bananas. And again, you can go to recipes.lowertoxiclife.com. You can simply search there. Just type in paleo and you will find the paleo. I think it's called Perfection disguised as a paleo muffin because they're so, so good. So you mix it up with all the traditional stuff. I use coconut flour and my almond flour, okay, that I always have on hand. Those are the alternative flours. I did add in some 72% cacao chocolate chips, shredded coconut, organic, baking powder, baking soda, and I made my own flax eggs this time. 1 tablespoon of ground flax meal or ground flax seeds, and then 3 tablespoons of water make eggs. Now, I just recorded a video, which is going to go live this week, about egg supply, the egg shortages, the expensive eggs, and how to prep and prepare ahead of time. And one of the things that I've started doing is you can substitute flax eggs for baking. Obviously, you can't make these into scrambled eggs or that type thing, but if you're looking for eggs for baking, this is a great way to certainly reduce the cost, certainly reduce the quality with some of them that are the conventionally raised eggs. But I really wanted to make sure that you understood this little hack so that you can use it for your baking, so that when eggs are in short supply, like they kind of are right now, I know the stores were saying only, limit 2 dozen each when I was in there the other day. So this calls for a flax. It doesn't actually call for a flax egg, but it calls for 2 eggs. And well over a year ago, I started making these with my flax eggs, and I don't notice any difference at all. Little bit of maple syrup, little bit of bourbon extract. I'm sorry, vanilla extract. The Trader Joe's has bourbon in it. Do not drink this. I'm just saying. You mix all that together, and then I bake them in my little silicone cups. So these I baked and made ahead. Now, I do a lot of food prepping because as much as I love to cook, I also love for things to be convenient. So one of the things that I do is I will food prep. And so I actually made a double batch of this today. This is my second batch that I'm making. So 4 bananas, I double the recipe, and then I freeze it. And I will actually finish this off and freeze it. This is 12 right here that it already made. So basically it made 16 muffins. You don't need these muffins to be as large as your traditional muffins that you buy like at Starbucks, because they are packed with nutrient dense and they're heavier ingredients like almond flour, which has healthy fats and some protein and all of that, and not that sugar rush. It's not the combination of white flour, that's glutinous and basically gives you, it processes and stores just like sugar in your body. And then what I'll do is I will make these up. I will actually freeze this. You can freeze these very easily in the silicone container, and then I just put a little bit of a covering over it, one of my little silicone bags, which I may have out here. I don't have the large one. I will cover it with that, freeze it, and then boom, I can pop these out, pop them in my air fryer toaster oven, and I have fresh, piping hot muffins on the go. Really, it takes about 15, 16 minutes for them to bake. I allow 20 minutes if it's frozen. I'll pop them in there, go take a shower. When I come out, they're great to pop into your kids on the go, for on the go breakfast. Ideally sit down with them and have a lovely breakfast and talk to them and get their day started right. But sometimes that isn't a reality. If you're off to work, you can pop these in. These are a great after school snack for kids, great in their sports bag, their after school activities. And coming up, I think it's next week, I am doing the kids meal hack, where we're going to create like chicken nuggets and mac and cheese and a lot of that's healthy, nutritious options and aren't loaded with junk. So that is my Paleo Muffins. The other thing that I will do with those, you guys know, I store almost everything in either glass, silicone, or stainless steel. I save these little, or you can buy these, but I've saved these over time from, just ingredients that I've gotten. These are my chia seeds that I store in this, but I have many of these. And what I can do is I can simply stack up these muffins in one of these and freeze them already cooked if I want, or I will freeze the dough in one of these if I don't want to use up all my silicone muffin tins to freeze with, I know exactly how much it takes, about up to here, to do half a dozen, 6 of my muffins, and I will freeze this, and then I can pop it in and out. You can freeze them in a silicone bag too, but that's just one example of what you can do. All right, those are the paleo muffins. Now let's talk about my cereal alternatives. I've mentioned before my seed cycling recipe. If you go to recipes.lowertoxiclife.com and you just type in seed cycling, it will give you this recipe. These are ground, and it's basically a hormone balancing, nutritious meal that's designed to work for women with our monthly menstrual cycle or with the phases of the moon if you're no longer having a period. And men, this is great for you too, because men's hormones get out of whack as well, but we're not often as aware of that, because with women, we experience hot flashes and a lot of different things. Men experience different things, a drop in testosterone, sex drive, a lot of those kind of things. So this is a great recipe for the entire family. So this is just pumpkin seeds, flax seeds, hemp and chia seeds, all ground up, again, in the coffee grinder. I like to do mine ground. I feel like there's a little bit of research out there, and it's really up to you. I'm a bio body hacker, so you have to figure out for yourself what works for you and what doesn't. But I feel like my body processes seeds better in my digestive tract when I grind them up. I grind them up. I mix shredded coconut. I mix some blueberries. These are pecans, and I have pistachios in here. I am a huge proponent of local honey for allergies. This is local honey purchased right up at my favorite little coffee place and breakfast place, the Grotto, up in Cave Creek. And then I will put about 1/3 to 1/2 cup of coconut water, organic coconut water I'll put on these, and then I put these in the fridge, and they're my own overnight oats, if you will. Oatmeal doesn't do well with me. There's a lot of mold. There's a lot of reasons to avoid oatmeal for a lot of people, not necessarily you. Again, you'll have to body hack for yourself and see how your system really feels about oatmeal. So I will freeze these overnight. The next day I get them out. I let them sit out for about an hour. I just like it at more of a room temperature. The other thing that I do with these is these travel extremely well. I will make this ahead of time, put it in the freezer, pop it out, use it as my ice pack when I go get on an airplane or whatever. Within 4 hours or whatever, it's perfect, ready to eat. And for me, it's about a 2-hour process from leaving my house, parking, getting on the airplane till I'm actually ready to eat. It's 2 hours to get there, all of that. So I pop this out ahead of time, stick it in my bag, and boom, it is ready to go on the airplane. And it's a fabulous alternative to any of that garbage, expensive airport food, and certainly airplane food. And I come from the airline industry. I know about that airplane food. All right, so that is number one. All right, number 2 cereal. Oh my gosh, this is my grain-free Brazil nut mix. So this is my version of granola, and you'll see here, I actually baked this. You can see that it's still very hard on the pan. So these are granola clusters. This is not on the blog yet, but so make sure you go to lowertoxiclife.com, grab my free recipe and grocery shopping guide, and you'll be notified when this does go live on the blog, which, like I said, is going to be in the next couple of days. But this is so fabulous. Brazil nuts, pecans, pumpkin seeds, coconut flakes. The recipe called for raw buckwheat groats. You can order those on Amazon from Bob's Red Mill, but I didn't. I just made it without it because I didn't have it, didn't want to order it, didn't want to wait. And that's the beauty of a lot of this. You can do whatever you want. You don't have to use these type of nuts. You can use whatever ones you want. And then you mix it with let me grab my recipe. You mix it with a little bit of maple syrup. It does call for 2 large egg whites, which here's what I did. I did use the egg whites, and then I saved the yolk and I put them in my breakfast taco egg mix. You can't quite see that, but we're going to make that here in just a minute. So no need to let anything go to waste. And then it also calls for 2 tablespoons of unsweetened applesauce. I don't keep applesauce on hand. I make my own applesauce when I need it. I didn't have it, so I used 2 tablespoons of mashed up banana. And guess what? It turned out perfectly. And all you're going to do with this is, get my recipe out of the way, you're just going to break up whatever you want, and then you mix it in the bowl. I have blueberries here. This is more, I would typically do a quarter to a half a cup of blueberries. Again, berries are very good for you, but like anything, the glycemic load, if you're pre-diabetic or struggle with that, you want to eat all that in moderation. So I would mix anywhere from a third to a half a cup, fourth to a half a cup of berries. Break up your granola. Again, remember what I said when I started, don't trust anyone who doesn't eat their own food? It is so good. Break up as much as you want. Put it in here. You can sprinkle some cinnamon over it. Oh, the other thing it calls for is raw nut butter. I did use almond butter. I typically make my own, but I do keep some on hand. This is the Kirkland brand organic almond butter. It calls for, I believe it's walnut butter. I don't have that in stock and I haven't made any. I'm sorry, I'm still chewing. But you can use that, and then you could put anything you want. You could put a little bit of coconut water on it. You could put coconut cream on it. You could put any type of oat milk or a yogurt, a goat's yogurt, a Greek yogurt, something like that. And that is going to be your fabulous cereal alternative. So much better than the oats and, you know, the overly processed granola type cereals that greenwash you into thinking that they're healthy because they say natural, healthy alternative, fortified, a lot of that kind of stuff. And we've been led to believe that if it's granola, somehow that means healthy. Nothing could be further from the truth. So make this. You can freeze this, chop it, crunch it up, put it in a glass jar, a silicone jar, something like that so that it doesn't leach. Don't put it in plastic, ideally, because you don't want those microplastics leaching into your food. But you can cut this up. And again, this is going to go a long way because it is made from nuts and flax seeds and all of that good stuff. It's going to satiate your body. You're going to stay fuller and well-fed and good nutrition longer. So you don't really need as much as, pouring out a whole cup of big cereal or whatever. Seriously, like a half a cup of this will go a long way. And again, a fabulous alternative for your children to get them started right, to get their brain focused, because kids get brain fog too when they're overloaded with sugar and a lot of that kind of stuff. So that is my cereal alternative number 2. All right, next up on our list is the little mini quiches. Now, this is in my egg video that's coming up. It's probably going to go live on Thursday. Today's Tuesday. But this is how I am helping people plan for egg shortages, the exorbitant price of eggs, and not have to go without nutritionally if they truly love eggs. And this is really one of my go-to things. And that is I call them my variety mini quiches. I make those also in my silicone muffin tins. Here's what they look like. This recipe is simply eggs. And I use the Good Culture cottage cheese because it's very pure, very organic. It's great for carnivore, keto, paleo type dieters. But I just make these up. And again, with those 2 simple ingredients, you can do whatever you want. I do like cheese, so these have feta cheese in them. It's pure sheep's feta cheese. But these particular ones have organic pasture-raised chicken, mushrooms, onions, and a little bit of spinach in them. That's what I put in these. And then I have some other ones that I cooked in here. I did a variety that have, I did ground bison. I made up my ground bison or my bison turkey sausage, which I have some here. Again, meal prepping. I prep for meals on Sundays. I get things out. I look at my calendar. I put everything in there and I determine what's going on this week. I have 2 school board meetings this week, so I have to be prepared because I'm not really going to be home during dinner time. So I prepped bison. I cooked pork, a big butt roast, I think it was, of pork, and divided that up. I made pork verde, which is green chili pork. I made barbecue pork, that kind of thing. Some of it I froze. Some of it I kept. I'll do what I call El Pollo Loco bowls, which are basically just Mexican bowls. I use cauliflower rice. Anyway, I'm deviating here, but this is a great example, and I'm going to mix this in with my breakfast tacos here in just a minute. But I did the chicken mini quiche, and then I also did some of the ground bison sausage mini quiche. These are perfect because this will pop right into the freezer, although this one I have stored in my refrigerator so that we can snack on these over the next couple of days. And then I froze 12, 6 and 6, in my silicone plastic bags. Those are already in the freezer. So again, I meal prep so that I have all of this in there. That stops me from going through the Starbucks drive-thru and getting a muffin or getting a bagel or even getting one of their breakfast sandwiches. I know some of that you have to do on the go, but I tell you, if you prep, plan, and cook ahead, you will find that you don't nearly need to do that as much as in the past. All right, so that's my little mini quiche. Next up, I'm going to make my cherry chocolate cold brew smoothies. Now, I'm not a huge smoothie girl. I'm going to tell you that for sure. And one of the reasons is it doesn't satiate me that much. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the lack of chewing. But when I started doing a lot of researching, when I got my health coaching certification and just started going down the rabbit hole of all things good and nutritious, one of the things that I found out is the problem with drinking smoothies too often is that it fools your body. Part of the entire digestive process, which is important to keeping our gut health good and our microbiome really healthy and functioning, is that when we skip the step of chewing what would be whole foods, like a smoothie, like fruit and all the things that go into that, when we skip that step, our body has to try to catch up. Because when you think about it, you know how your mouth salivates before you eat? That's because your brain is telling your body food is incoming. Your body has a natural reflex and knows what to do. It starts releasing saliva, which is part of the entire digestive process. I'm getting super scientific here, but I think you know what I mean. So as we chew our food slowly, you've heard that, right? Slow down and chew, take a bite, set the fork down, chew it fully, and let it start to digest. And that's why when we really do intentionally eat slowly, we often find, I mean, you're aware yourself, right? That all of a sudden that big lump of food that you put in your mouth just kind of evaporates. It goes away. That's because the chemicals in our body begin to break that down. When we overconsume smoothies, we strip away that natural process of our body doing that. And over time, for some people, not everyone, it can be very disruptive in your digestive system. So I recommend no more than 1 or 2 smoothies a week, and especially for your children as well, just for that very same reason. So here is my cold brew, chocolate coffee cold brew smoothie. So I'm going to get this stuff out of the way. I'm going to start with these. You can add whatever you want. I am a huge fan of the Trader Joe's organic coconut products. Coconut cream, 100% pure, full fat. Coconut milk, it's reduced fat. I'm not opposed to fat, healthy fats. And again, like anything in moderation, I don't just sit and drink a whole can of it. But you can use these. You can use any of the nut milks. You can use regular milk if you choose to, or you can use yogurt. But what I'm doing here, I have about a half a cup of organic frozen cherries are in here, okay? And I started to add a little bit of my coconut cream, but then I waited. And then I made my cold brew coffee that I ground my own beans and did all of that. So I'm going to pour that in here. Okay. I've got a tablespoon of cacao powder right here. That's the chocolate. And then I have a little less than a cup of the coconut. It's actually the full coconut cream with a little bit of coconut water because I already had that open. You're going to put that in here. Now, here's the best part. You can add anything else that you want to this. Do you want to add a handful of spinach? Add a handful of spinach. Handful of kale? Add a handful of kale. You want to put some of the protein powder in it? Put the protein powder in it. We're going to try that. I'm just going to do about a tablespoon of the protein powder, put it in there, and it's ready to go in the Ninja. If you want to put cinnamon in it, any other flavorings. And again, maybe you don't like cherry. Maybe you want a raspberry cocoa cold brew smoothie. Again, you can, as you already know this, you can mix and match any of this any way that you want. And then you can add sweetener if you desire. I'm a fan of stevia and monk fruit, the healthy organic. Clean this up. And let's taste it and see how it is. See, that's perfect for me. I can taste the chocolate, I can taste the coffee, and it's not super sweet. You've probably heard me say before, if you're new to my channel, you don't know this. I was very fortunate that I was not born with a sweet tooth. I have more of a savory tooth. So it's not that hard for me to walk away from the sweet table. And so consequently, I prefer more of a neutral taste when it comes to sweet stuff. So I love the chocolate in it. I love the cherry, the cold brew, and it really is a fabulous flavor. All right, and then the final step of what we're going to do is we are going to create breakfast tacos. So I'm going to take you right over here to my stove, and we'll get busy with this. So I have my pan here. This is one of the green pan, which I'm not a huge fan of, but I don't use Teflon. I've got some coconut oil in here. This is the Siete brand almond flour tortilla, so it's gluten-free. I grate all my cheese myself. I don't like to buy grated cheese because it has so many preservatives and anti-caking powders in it. So I grate my cheese myself. This is it's the Kerrygold organic cheddar. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to get this a little bit, what am I trying to say? A little bit browned, warmed more than anything. Now, I tend to like my tortillas crispy. You'll have to cook yours the way that you want, but we'll just get that going and get that kind of warmed up. Now, I mentioned I used my 2 egg yolks plus 1 extra egg. I used the 2 egg yolks in this from the egg whites that I used to make my granola clusters, because at the price of eggs, I'm not letting any of that go to waste. So I've just mixed that up in here, right, with a fork, so it's ready to go. You know I'm a huge fan of the organic pasture-raised eggs, but do whatever you can. I always say even factory farm conventional eggs are better than any ultra-processed food any day. So don't, let yourself think that that's not a good option if you can't buy organic pasture-raised. Although you will see in my video that's launching on Thursday, I paid $4.99 for the pasture-raised eggs at Sprouts, and the conventional eggs for a dozen at Fry's almost next door were $5.99. So you have to really shop wisely right now and do the pricing. Now, I don't really love eggs, if you want to know the truth. It's more the theory of them than anything. So I always like to say I bury my eggs. I love salsa, and I love this Trader Joe's salsa Authentica, basically is what it stands for. And I also love their habanero sauce. So I bury mine in the good stuff like that. All right, so here is our tortilla. It's gotten just slightly warmed up and is kind of starting to melt the cheese. I'm going to pour a little bit of this bison mixture in here. Get that a little bit warmed up, because these are just, again, breakfast tacos. Now, maybe you don't like any added meats or anything like that in your eggs, in your breakfast tacos. Again, as I said, I'm not a huge meat lover, so for me, it's a great option. So we're going to just get, this is already cooked. Now, you could cook this fresh if it wasn't already done, but I meal prepped on Sunday, so I have all of this done. Just warming this up a little bit. Then I'm going to pop in my eggs. The nice thing, especially with meal prepping on Sundays, is if you have all this ready, it makes it so much easier during the week before you go to work, before you get the kids off to school, whatever it is. It makes it so much easier for you to have a healthy breakfast on the go that doesn't take a whole lot of time. And as I'm working toward putting together more kids in the kitchen and family dinner type stuff, the more you can get your kids involved in cooking at a young age and doing all this. I mean, you know, a child could stand on even a chair pretty young. My kids went to Montessori school, so they learned how to cook early and how to use a knife and a lot of that stuff. But you are going to just want to get your eggs cooked up as liquidy or as solid as you'd like them. I do mine pretty solid because, like I say, I'm not a huge egg lover. So I will do them up pretty solid like that. And then just a little bit longer. Trying to think if there's anything else we would add to that. The bison is already seasoned pretty well, and it's a little saltier than most, so I did not add any spices or seasoning to my eggs. If you are using something else or you like it extra, feel free, and make sure you're using a good quality sea salt, okay, because your body needs those electrolytes, and it's super good for you. And then we're just going to spread that on here. And then if you want to melt that cheese just a little bit more, you could actually, I guess I already had one of these. You could actually pop the whole thing back in there and let it warm just a little bit more. And then you're gonna spoon it up, put it on your plate, serve it with a sliced avocado, serve it with some of that hot sauce, whatever you like. And then again, depending on what's in your mix, you could literally put anything that you want on it. So that's what I have here. It's hard for me to read the comments while it's going by. Looks good. All right. Yay. I love that. You are making eating healthy more fun. That's my whole goal. You know what? It's so funny. I talk to people all the time who say, oh, I don't like to cook. And my question is it that you don't like to cook, or is it that you feel overwhelmed, stressed, confused, and even like there's some standard for cooking well? Really and truly, the best meals, in my opinion, are the ones that are prepared with great fresh ingredients, with love from the heart, and the fewer ingredients, the better. You will find that I don't make anything extravagant. In fact, when I look at a recipe, it's kind of like that, my Brazilian nut cereal, when it called for the groats, I didn't even know what that was. I had to go Google it, and I didn't have them, and I thought, you know what? I don't need them. I don't need them. Maybe they're super nutritious. I need to go look at it again. But I remember when I first started making this, looking at that and thinking, do I really need that? Because as I move into my later years in life, I'm not a minimalist by any means, but I'm learning to constrain what's in my pantry and all the rest of it to really use up what I have, what I want to use. I better turn that off before I burn my taco. And that way I don't have a whole lot of stuff sitting around, especially as empty nesters with the expiration date going bad, and a whole lot of extra waste. There is our breakfast taco. What do you think? Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Just click that little subscribe button. Make sure you grab my guide at lowertoxiclife.com so that you're notified of all of this. If you have a specific meal that you would like to see me prepare, or a recipe you want me to hack, leave it in the comments. Contact me, Jackie at lowertoxiclife.com. Just like I mentioned, where I hacked the Thai chai, which is Thai tea, which is fabulous, but it's not typically that healthy. So myself and a group of friends went out to a Thai restaurant last week. This was ordered. I tasted it. It was so sweet, and I thought, oh, this is a chemical nightmare. I didn't even finish it. But I thought, I'm going to go home and hack that with good coconut cream and, black organic tea and a lot of those kind of things. Make it an amazing day.